Hello and welcome to the Budget Tea. Today the video is one I have been promising for a long time, and I am very excited that I have had some time to sit down and kind of think about it. It's just basic budgeting, and then when we get into more advanced budgeting, I'll do that a little bit later. So for today, we are going to create a realistic budget. So the thing about budgets is people tend to make them very, very strict, and they tend to guess, right? So people say, oh, I need to save some money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to only spend $200 next month on food. If you do that, right, you are setting yourself up for failure, because you have to know where you've been to know where you're going. So if you don't have a plan to figure out where you've been, then you are setting yourself up to fail, fail, fail. Because if you don't know how much you spend at the grocery store every month, and you're going to say, I'm only going to spend $200 next month on food, then you've failed out the gate if you spend $300 every month, right? So what we do is we just kind of take a step-by-step approach to creating a budget. Now, this is not a get out of debt budget. This is a realistic budget. Okay. Now, getting out of debt is a whole nother ball game, and we have to tighten our budget and send all the extra to debt. But before we can get out of debt, we need to have an emergency fund, and it needs to be, your budget needs to be something that you can live with and can enjoy, so that you can stick with it. So it's going to change and fluctuate depending on your plans. Okay. So today we're going to talk about step one. So in step one, I have 3 parts. Okay. So step one, the first thing you're going to do is going to get either your bank app on your phone or your checking account statements if you use your debit card. If you use your credit card, you're going to need your credit card statements, and you're going to need, or you can use the app in your credit card for whatever you have spent. Okay. You're going to write down all expenses for 2 to 3 months, month by month, right? So all expenses for 2 to 3 months, month by month. And so it may look something like this. Okay, this is just month 1 with no holidays. Please don't use Christmas, so don't never use December. That's a terrible month to try to do a budget. Plus, that's the longest month of the year, because people tend to overspend. And it seems like it takes from Christmas, when you open your presents, until you get paid again on the 1st, or that first paycheck in January. I'm not kidding. It seems like it's been 2 years. Okay, just kidding. So, but it really does seem like it takes several weeks instead of just a week and some change. So it may look something like this. Now, I just was making stuff up, right? So, but what we're going to say is that I pulled a month. We'll say this is September. And so you're going to start September 1st, and you're going to put all of your expenses in there. Okay. You're just going to write them down. So say your mortgage, you went to Food Lion, you went to BP for gas, Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's. For $14, probably got your kids something to eat, because that don't go very far at McDonald's anymore. Your water bill, your electric bill, you went to the hair salon, music subscription, you went to Texas Roadhouse, got your nails done, you went to Macy's, Netflix, Shell, Barnes & Noble, Kroger, Petco, the vet, Chinese buffet, Hulu, Marathon gas station, Taco Bell, ice cream, Kroger, a copay for a medical visit, CVS pharmacy for your medication, copay. You went to Lowe's, Starbucks, you filled your Starbucks card because it's $25. You put $50, which was a minimum payment on a credit card. You paid that bill. Food Lion, ATM withdrawal, you took out $60. Amazon, PayPal, Cash App, $13 because somebody bought lunch at work. He went to the yarn store. I picked yarn store because that's one of my hobbies, but just remember your hobbies if you have them. You paid for parking, you paid for a toll, you went to the movies, went on a little vacation because you stayed at the Marriott. You had a gym membership, and it was somebody named Jesse's birthday. Okay, so, and you spent $30 on that. So once we get these, so you should have 2 or 3 of these to do your budget. You need to go back, right? Please take the time to do this. Do not move forward until you have done this, okay? Now, I recommend either highlighter markers in several color packs. So you're probably going to need maybe 10, something like that. So just the regular normal ones don't seem to work as well. If that is the issue, if you don't have a bunch of highlighter markers, you can go to the Dollar Tree and you can get colored like marker pens or felt tip pens for $1.25 that has like 20 colors in it. So they're kind of similar to something like this. Like these are the Paper Mate felt tip ones, but they have some similar, right? So you could use something like this, or you could use something like this. Like the mild liners are my absolute favorite. You can usually get them at places like, but they're expensive. They're not cheap. So, but you can get them at places like Walgreens or CVS or Walmart. They usually have packs that have enough colors in them. But again, if you're a minimalist, then these would probably work better for you. So I'm going to show you 2 ways that you're going to want to do this, right? So you're going to want to group like items together, right? So we're on part 2 of step 1. Group like items, okay? So I'm going to just use my real colors because it'll make it easier for my brain. So what you're going to do is you're going to group like items. Now, you can do it like this. So we're going to say the first one is going to be, we're going to work on fixed expenses. And the first one is going to be bills. Okay. So you can do this. So you could say mortgage. You can say water, electric, music. So just like Apple Music or not Spotify, I hope, but anyway, we're not going to get into that. Apple Music, Pandora Plus, Sirius XM, if you play by the month, things like that. Okay, Netflix, Hulu. If any more bills. So, gym membership. Okay, so any bills, subscriptions, things like that, you're going to mark in one color. Okay, like items. Now, me personally, I use the highlighter method. So I do this. Just makes it easier for me. Pink is my bill color, as you see, bills. Blue is food. So I got a blue pen over here. So we can do this. So we're going to go Food Lion, Walmart. Now, Walmart is a hard one, right? Because Walmart could be food, it could be clothes, it could be like necessities, it could be gifts, it could be stuff for the house, towels, whatever. However, I usually group, because of Walmart, I group things like household. So that's trash bags, laundry detergent, toilet paper, paper towel, things like that. I group all of those in with food to make it easier for myself. Because like if I go to BJ's, I don't just get household items, I get food too sometimes. So it's just easier for me to put it all together. So we're going to consider Walmart food. Okay. Now you don't have to. If you need to separate it, please do. McDonald's is also food. Texas Roadhouse is food. Kroger, Chinese buffet, Taco Bell, Kroger. I'm not going to consider ice cream. I'm going to put that in a different category because it's just outing for ice cream. Okay. After the Taco Bell, probably. And of course, I just made all this up again. So, let's see. We're doing food. Food Lion. Okay. I think that's all the food. Now, I may go back and find something that I didn't add, and that's fine. I just will add it later. But the next thing, okay, and then variable. So food is variable because you can adjust how much you spend. If it's Thanksgiving, you're going to spend way more than, or Christmas dinner. If you're cooking, you're going to usually spend way more than you would at any other month, right? So food is a variable expense. So we got Food Lion, Walmart, McDonald's. So if I put eating and groceries together, eating out and groceries, some people do not. It's up to you. I say at first, the least categories, the better. The less categories, the better. Less is more when it comes to you first doing your budget. Taco Bell, Kroger, Food Lion. That was it. Okay. So you're going to continue like this. Vacation. Vacation is going to be variable. Marriott will be vacation. Okay. Next will be self-care. So self-care is things that you do to take care of yourself. So like hair salon, right? So hair salon, your nails. Barnes and Noble could be self-care, but I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to put it somewhere else. Petco and the Vet, Marathon, ice cream, copay, CVS, Lowe's, Starbucks could be self-care. It also could be food, totally up to you. It could be miscellaneous. I think I probably will put that in, let's put it in food. Okay, self-care, more self-care. Hobbies will be the yarn store, movies, Jesse's birthday. Okay, so self-care, we only had a couple of things. Miscellaneous. So self-care is a variable because it's going to adjust every month, right? Miscellaneous is also variable. So miscellaneous expenses. So this Amazon, just when it says Amazon, it doesn't give us enough information. Now, if you know what you got and you go back to your Amazon and you look, right, and it's clothing, or, you know, if it goes into a different category, please put it there. Otherwise, it's going to go, for me right now, into miscellaneous. Okay, so miscellaneous is gray for me. Barnes and Noble is going to go. So anything one-off, anything that you don't always do, on occasion, it's going to be in miscellaneous. Okay. So like this Lowe's will be miscellaneous. We need to go back because I missed this credit card minimum payment. That's going to be a bill. This ATM withdrawal, I don't know what we spent the cash on, so it's going to be miscellaneous. Another Amazon, a PayPal. So Cash App, I think we said that was going to be, we paid somebody bought lunch at work or something, we just were paying them back, so we could do that. That'll be food. Parking toll, movies, Jesse's birthday. Okay, now the next one, we're going to go to variable medical. It's going to be our copay and our CVS. Now, Also, self-care could also be the gym, right? The gym could go into self-care. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Just make sure you always put it in the same category. Okay. So if we're going to put gym, if it's a recurring bill, I just am going to put it in bills. However, if you want to put it in self-care, you can. Totally up to you. Going to have gas. Gas is yellow. So gas is next. And again, you can use the color pens, but we're just going to do the highlighter because then I can see easier when they're all gone. Shell. My daughter told me to put Sheets because she loves to get she loves to go to Sheets and go in the store, but we didn't put no Sheets on here. Marathon was gas. I just try to think of gas stations not far from me. Okay, so gas. Now, you can put parking and toll in gas, or you can put parking and toll in transportation. I think for ease of this, we're just going to put it in gas. Now, transportation is a sinking fund I have, so I put money in there for when I need tires and things like that. But right now, we can just put it in with gas, right? So if you had a car wash for $12 or something, you could put all of that in with gas. Okay, we got a one-off with clothing. Now, you can either have a clothing category, but most people don't buy clothes that often. So I'm going to actually put clothing in miscellaneous since we looks like we went to Macy's. Maybe we bought some cologne. I don't know. Okay, next. It looks like we have a pet. So we went to Petco and we went to the vet. Now, I hope these are showing up different because this is like a teal and this is like blue. So I hope these are showing up different on the camera for you. And then we got a hobby. So we're going to make hobby. I'm not doing this one, so we'll do hobbies. Okay, hobby and fun, right? So this could be fun, hobbies, entertainment, whatever you want to call it. But we need to have it. So we got fun. We had self-care, vacay, miscellaneous. Did I get them all? Gas. Your fixed expenses are your bills. Everything that you have, that you pay every single month, that's always the same. Your regular bills, right? Your variable expenses are ones that change, right? So this is where you can make the most impact on your budget, is in your variable expenses. This is where you can cut back. This is where you can kind of tighten up, things like that. Also remember, all subscriptions and all annual expenses. So annual expenses are things like car tags, I pay my life insurance once a year. I pay my Sirius XM once a year. I pay my library out-of-state card once a year. So things you pay once a year need to be in something called annual expenses. So in my budget this month, one thing that came out this month, and I did not get paid due to government shutdown, so I had to pull money in from my emergency sinking fund, right? So my Lexus Inform is a annual expense. It's only once a year, and it allows me to like start my car, lock my doors, all that stuff from my phone. So that's just a once a year thing that I choose to pay for. It came out this month, so it needs to be on my annual bill tracker. So here it is, Lexus Inform. And it actually is supposed to come out in October, but they were late and they didn't pull it out till November the 18th. No, November the 8th. So we're gonna put November 8th. It was 80. This is for 2026. So let me pay attention. Oh, see, it's up here. It came out. Said it came out on October the 21st. I better double check and make sure they didn't charge me twice. That was just an example. Okay. So once we have this, once we have all of our stuff added up on here, right? And we've grouped our like items together, right? And then we can, one of the things I like to do is I like to just make myself a little key. Now, I have a label maker, so I have the things on here, but you can just do it like this and make yourself a key. All right. So what we need to do is we need to add up from all 3 pages, right? All 3 months, right? We're going to just stick with these same categories. If it doesn't fit in one of these categories, put it in miscellaneous. If you feel like you need another category, go ahead and make it, but don't make too many, right? Not initially. You can hammer it down later. We can, kind of get into the weeds much later, but right now we just need big categories. All of our fixed expenses and our bills, then our variable expenses, food, self-care, miscellaneous, gas, fun and entertainment, pet, medical. Forgot medical. How can I forget medical? Now, if you have something you think you need to do other than these, that's fine too. But these I would recommend as the minimum. Okay. And then what you need to do is you need to come up with your fixed expenses. How much is it every month? So for our bills, I'm going to go all the pinks. This is why the colors, right? This makes it so much easier. Oh, I need to start over. 75, 210, 12, 19. And we just look for the color. 8, 50, and 59. Okay, so for month 1, I'll find a bit better pen. Okay. Okay. So for month 1 in bills, it was 1933. Don't we wish that's what it was? But okay, so in our bills, we have 1933 for this month. Okay. Then let's do food next. That's blue, 184 plus 120 plus 14 plus 70 plus 32 plus 14 plus 214 plus 25, 120, 13 gives us 806. Now 806 is actually really close to my own budget for food. I budget about $800 a month for food. Is it weird that I just guessed those numbers? Probably not, because it's probably subconscious, because that's probably how much I spend at the store when I go and going out. But I didn't take this from anything factual. I just made this up. Okay, so 806. Okay, self-care. We got 150 and we got 75. Which is 225. Now, again, if you wanted to make gym self-care, you could, but it doesn't matter because you're still going to count it somewhere. I think that if it's something that comes out of your account every month and you don't have to do anything to pay it, it should just go in bills. But totally up to you. So I'm going to leave it there, and this is going to be 225 for self-care. Now, on occasion, if I stop and get a coffee, sometimes I take that money out of my self-care money because I just really had a bad day and it's not in my food budget, and that's what I want to take care of myself that day. So, if you're going to do some cash envelopes, then what you choose to use for your self-care is your business, right? Like, so 225. Miscellaneous is the hard one, and this is the one that is hardest in my own personal budget, because miscellaneous stuff is stuff that doesn't happen all the time. I might be buying a jacket at work, or I might have bought pizza for the teams, so those things are miscellaneous because they're not things I planned. They weren't in my budget, so these are unplanned things. This is what can get you into trouble, this miscellaneous one. So 90, 120, 70, 46, 60, 32, 74. Okay, it's $4.92. Now, I personally don't have a fun and entertainment category, but but my kids are older, they're grown, I live alone, so fun and entertainment for me is not usually stuff like going to movies. I do go on occasion, but I just will take it out of miscellaneous, right? So I don't really have fun and entertainment, but if I went to the fair, we do that once a year. So I do put money, and I will just put in my variable columns on my monthly budgeting sheet. I'll just put fair, and I'll put $100 or whatever we're gonna spend, and then I just it's just a one-time thing. So I don't really do a fun and entertainment category. So let's do gas. So we got 65 and 52 and 42 and 8 and 3 is 170. And I feel like that's pretty reasonable for I budget about $200 in gas, so that's about right for me. So fun and entertainment, we got 9 and we've got 60. We've got 9, 60, 75, and 30. 174. Now, Jesse's birthday, right? So Jesse's birthday, I don't have a friend named Jesse, I just made it up, but if you have a lot of friends with a lot of birthdays and you do stuff for them or you take them to lunch or something like that, this could potentially go miscellaneous. But I feel like it's good to have like a gifts or a fun, some kind of category where you can, take stuff out of or do something for someone else. So whether you call it a tithe account or you tithe into someone or a gift account or something like that, a little bit of something in there, but putting it in fun and entertainment, I feel like is a really good place for right now, especially when you're first starting your budget. So for our next category, it's pet. So that's 75 plus 120 is 195. Pets can be expensive, right? And you need an emergency fund for your pet. But first, you need an emergency fund for yourself if you don't have one. Okay, and then let's see, medical is the last thing. And that's 25 plus 18, 43. Okay, so now you are going to do this with the other 2 months, right? And so if you want to do it right now, you can go ahead and pause the video and do that, or you can watch this video all the way through. We're going to just make up some numbers here. We're going to give ourselves an average, and then we're going to come up with the budget. The other thing you need is you need to know your income every month, what you bring home, okay, your net income. Make sure your taxes and your withholdings, your W-4 is appropriate so you don't owe a bunch of taxes, because if you owe a bunch of taxes, it's going to throw our budget way off because you're going to have this big tax bill. So make sure your W-4 is appropriate, and then put down your net income. So we're going to say this person's net income is $4,000 a month. Okay, so this is our net monthly income. That's how much we bring home. Okay, so that's we get paid twice a month, and it's $2,000 each check. Okay, so then do your other numbers. Okay, I'm just going to make some up. So we're going to do, the bill should be the same. The food was $806, we're going to do $900, and we're going to do $820. Then self-care was $225. Then we got our hair done this particular month, so, and it looks like our nails, but we only got our nails done once. So let's see if we do $150 for the next month, then $150 for the next month for nails twice a month. Miscellaneous $492, $507, and $400. Gas $170, $184, and $201. Fun and entertainment $80 and $40. Pet 60 and 60. Let's just say it's food. And then medical 43. Say 40 and 70. Okay. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to add these up, and you're going to come up with the average. So the average is 1933. So our budget is going to be so this can go up and down a little bit just because of the water bill and the electric bill, but we're going to budget, so it's 1933, we're going to budget 1950 to account for those, fluctuations, okay? Then we got 806 plus 900, I hope this is in here, plus 820 equals 2526 divided by 3. Our average is 842. So we're going to make our budget 850 for food. Self-care is 225, 150, 150 divided by 3, 175. So we're going to make our budget 200. Now, we don't have to make it 200. We can make it 175. The problem comes when we have money left over. We might need to hold on to it because when it's time to get that hair color or cut or whatever you need to do that we did this month, you're going to need some extra money. So if we do it like this, it'll let us build a little bit of a sinking fund for our self-care. Okay, miscellaneous, this is the hard one. 492 plus 507 plus 400 divided by 3 is 466. So I try to keep my miscellaneous at $200, but I fail most months. So I actually need to adjust mine. And the thought of spending just miscellaneous, unplanned money in a time where I'm not getting paid has been, that's not fun to think about right now. So, but what I would recommend that this person do if this was truly what they have going on is that they would budget $475 for that. Okay, now hopefully your number's not that high, but that is the first place I would work on cutting, and I need to. So for gas, was 184 and 201 divided by 3 is 185. So then I'm going to, of course, recommend that we do 200 for gas. Fun and entertainment, 174, 80, 40 divided by 3 is $98. So I would say $100 a month for fun and entertainment. Now, if you know that your family does a lot of fun and entertainment things, you go to a trampoline park or whatever it is, then you need to make sure that you're planning for that, right? And then you need to make sure that this $100 is enough for your one outing if that's what you have, right? Like once a month, or if you just do small trips like ice cream, then you may go get ice cream several times. But if you go, say you go to Cold Stone, right? You may want to consider, hey, normally we go to Cold Stone for ice cream, but hey, let's go to Sonic. We're right here, and it'll cut that way down if you just get something at Sonic instead of Cold Stone. But your family, your decision on how you want to spend your entertainment. So for pet, we got 195 plus 60 is 315 divided by 3 is 105. So that's our average. So I would say 125 a month for the pet. And then if we're only spending 60, then we're keeping $65, and we're gonna just keep building that up until we get a pet sinking fund, and we can put that money aside. So if there's an emergency or the pet has to go to the vet, then you've got a little bit of money in the hole, right? I mean in the envelope, and you don't have to go in the hole. It doesn't need to go on credit card. So for medical is a hard one too, because sometimes you have to see specialists, and you might see them once a year. So you can either try to book them all in the same month and just save a little bit every month for that one time, or you can spread them out, totally up to you. So this is $51. So I would say make this budget this for 75. Okay, now let's see what we got. So we've got 1950 plus 850 plus 200 plus 475, 200 plus 100, 125, 75. So that's 39.75. And if you budget, and this is your income, and this is what you have, then all you have left over is $25, right? So the good news is that we can pay all of our bills and we can live our lifestyle that we're currently living. The bad news is if we have a credit card that we're making payments on, right, and we're only paying the minimum balance, and we don't have an emergency fund, we probably need to do some adjusting, right? So that's when we need to look at the miscellaneous, see if we can go down. So we know that least we've spent on miscellaneous is $400. So we probably could drop this to $400, and that would save us $75. Okay. Self-care, same. Okay. If $225 is what we're spending, say, for hair color or haircut and color or whatever, and nails, then maybe we look at doing our nails at home and just saving for these haircut and color and cut money that way. Because with $25, if you saved every penny of this $25, it's going to take you forever to get to a sinking fund, emergency fund of, say, $500. And you also need to start making debt payments. So you can't say, I'm going to spend $200 on food. But you may say, hey, you know what? I'm going to meal plan, and I'm going to slowly get this down. So maybe next month we go down to 800. Maybe the next month we go down to 775. And if you're meal planning, you can get this down. You're not going to be able to do anything with your bills. So just keep that where it is. You can work on getting your food down. You can definitely get your self-care down. You can definitely get your miscellaneous down. Gas. So, gas is one of the things that I feel like you don't overspend on unless you're just driving around on Sunday doing Sunday drive, which people don't really do anymore, I don't think. So, gas, no big deal. Fun and entertainment. Again, instead of going to Cold Stone, maybe we go to Sonic or Chick-fil-A for ice cream, or wherever, McDonald's, whatever. Pet is important, right? So you got to buy the pet food, and then you need to put some kind of money away, because every year they need shots and they have to have their checkups. And if you have grooming, don't even get me started on that. So, the pet one is hard, but you may be able to go down to, instead of 60, you may be able to go down to 75 instead of 105 or 125. $75 a month, and just save that extra $15 every month. And then when it's time to, if you save $15 every month, that'll give you 15 is 150, 180, and then plus the 60 for that month when you take the animal to the vet the next year, you would have enough. The problem is if there's an emergency. And then medical, right? So I feel like medical is something that you have to have. So if you can get some of these numbers down, great, right? Because with this person's budget, I would recommend that we cut some of these things because we only have $25. And I recommend we put $100 into an emergency savings every month. Okay, so let's see. If we had to do it right now, I would say we will go to, this will stay at $19.50 new, $19.50, and then food we're going to go down to $800. Self-care we're going to go down to 100. Miscellaneous we're going to go down to 400. Gas we're going to stay at 200. Fun and entertainment we can go maybe to 75. Pet we can do 75. And then medical we're going to keep at 75. Okay, so this is how you tweak your budget. You don't go from spending an average of $845 a month on groceries to $200, right? That's setting you up for failure. But if we just go down a little bit, $50, and we meal plan, right? And then maybe instead of going to Publix, we go to Food Lion, or instead of going, or we go to Walmart. And then let's see how much money this would give us. So $36.75. $325. So if we have $325 left over, right, I would say leave $25 as a buffer in your account and take $300 and put it in your savings account for an emergency savings. Do that every month until you get to $1,000. Once you get a $1,000 emergency savings account, then my recommendation is so as much as you can to $1,000. Okay, once you get to $1,000, right? Because that's not going to get you really far if you don't get a paycheck like I haven't got one, right? So that $1,000 is not going to pay a month of bills. The goal is 6 months of living expenses. And if it's $39.75, then our goal is $23,000. But we would cut this if we weren't really getting paid, so we could just make it $20,000. This would be our person's ultimate emergency fund. Okay, that's going to be our goal. But we're not going to just keep putting money in there till we get there, right? Because that's going to take us a while. Not a big deal. We'll get there. It's just going to take us a little while. So then what I recommend we do is we split 50-50. So 50% to savings and 50% to debt. Now, I recommend that this savings is in a high yield savings account. There's a bunch of them. Ally, SoFi, American Express has one. There's lots of them. Just do your research. Some of them have minimums. So I feel like the easiest one is Ally. It's online, because the online, make sure they're FDIC insured, but the online high yield savings accounts save money because they don't have that brick and mortar place and building. So they pass that savings on to you, right? So I think theirs is 4.3% interest right now. Okay, so you'll make money if your money's sitting in there. So and then 50% to debt. So in my example, we only had one credit card, right? But say it is a, I don't know, say it's got a 27% interest. It's going to take you forever to pay that off, right? So you may want to do 75 and 25, right? So 75 to debt and 25 to savings as far as percentages, right? So 243 would go to debt, and then 85 would go to your savings. If this was me, I'd probably do, as long as I had debt, once I got to my $1,000, I'd probably do like a 90-10. And so that would be 325 times 0.9 is 292. Then that gives me $33 the savings. And if I could save money in any of these categories, right? So if, say, I was able to get down to $7.50 on food, that extra $50 would go straight to my debt, right? Yeah, that's what I would recommend, because that's how you get out of debt. And you can start your debt if you have, in this example, we only had one credit card. But if you have a bunch of debt, then there's two ways you could pay it off. You could pay it off the smallest amount first. That'll give you a quick win and it'll keep your motivation high. The other way you can do it is you can save the most money possible by paying off the one with the highest interest rate first. So just a quick kind of what I would do to save your money. So this is basically all you need right here to do your budget. You can just put on a notebook, piece of notebook paper. Find a piece. All right. Start with a notebook, right? And so you just do income, which is 4,000. And so we're going to say this is next month. Right. So it doesn't matter if it's January, July, whatever, it doesn't matter. This would be that month, right? So this would be expected and actual. And then we would do, if you do tithing, that would be 40 actual. Might be 40, might be 0, depending on how much money you have left, right? Okay, then bills. So you can list them out. Mortgage, water, electric, music, Netflix, Hulu, and the gym. Of course, again, I made these up. So, okay, this is your let's see, I'll put the line here, expected budgeted amount, and this is your actual amount. So you're expecting your mortgage to be these numbers here, right? 75, 210, 12, 19, 8, and 59. If any of these change, you put it over here, right in your actual column once the bill comes out. Now, electric may only be $190 this month. Could be less than that, right? So that these are the ones that kind of you may, it could also be $215, right? So you have to really pay attention to these. Okay, once you get all of these, right, then we go down to variable expenses. And then our variable expenses are food, self-care, miscellaneous. We're going to put gas at the bottom. Fun, entertainment, pet, medical. And then I put gas down here. I save gas because I put it on my credit card and then I pay it off at the end of the month, so I get the points. I get airline miles for what I spend. So I put my gas on my credit card, and at the end of the month, I pay it off with whatever my budgeted amount was and go from there. But our budget amount for gas is $200. Our medical is, where's the other? So our food is $800 budgeted, $100 for self-care. Miscellaneous, $400 for miscellaneous is entirely too much. I would say that really could get cut down to $200, but we're going to just leave it because that's what we decided. I decided with you together, even though I can't hear what your input is. Okay. So then this gives my total, $1933. Should be our total for our bills. And then this total should be, so $1950 is the budgeted for this amount in case this goes up, right? So that's how much we have budgeted. So I'm going to leave that in budgeted. Once I get the actual bill, I'm going to put the actual bills over here and say exactly what they are. The same with the variable expenses, right? So at the end of the month, I can't do these. I can't do these till the end of the month when I'm done spending money. But food, self-care, miscellaneous, fun, entertainment, pet, and medical, right? That gives us a total of $36.75. With this one plus this one, right? Okay, then what we're going to do, again, we're going to put $300 and then the 25 is going to stay in the account and act as a buffer for our checking. Okay, now if you struggle staying on budget with your variable expenses, I recommend that you go to the bank and take out $17.25. Now, if you have time to go to the bank every week, then I would recommend that you do it a little bit at a time. So you can take out $200 for groceries. You know, you don't have to take it all out. You could just take out some of it and do it every single week, or you can give yourself the money every payday. But I like to just kind of give it to myself every week because it helps me to stay on track. And if I go over budget, then I only have to survive a few days until I get paid again. I pay myself again for groceries or whatever. If I'm over budget on food, it comes out of fun, right? That automatically off the top comes out of fun or miscellaneous, right? It's got to come from somewhere. And so cash helps keep you from going over, because if you swipe your card, you don't know where you are all the time. And if you are not going to do cash, I recommend you get a checkbook register, and I recommend you write everything down and you use the highlighter method in the checkbook register so you can keep track of it as you go along, right? So you know how much money you have left. Getting a handle on your budget by using cash for variable expenses is the best way I have found not to overspend. Okay, so 300 would go on our savings, and we would keep it like this for 3 months, and then we would have $900 in there. Then on the fourth month, we would put $100 in savings to give us a total of $1,000, and then we would start putting money towards that debt, right? I feel like $500 would be the minimum I would recommend you have for an emergency fund. And then once you get that $1,000 and once you start getting your debt paid down, then we can look at sinking funds and other things. But this is the first step in doing your budget. Okay. And we did just these few things, and I don't have anything fancy except highlighters, right? Like that's it. But step one is write down all your expenses, which we did. Step one, part one. Okay. Do it for 3 months if possible, but skip months with big holidays. So not December, maybe skip the groceries for November, maybe pull groceries from a different month. Or you can just take that big grocery bill that you went food shopping for Thanksgiving, and you can look at how much you normally would spend and then what extra you spent for Thanksgiving. If you don't do a big Thanksgiving, you're going somewhere and you're only taking one dish, then go ahead and use November. Some people, so I have a good friend, and her family's August is a disaster. Like, it's great, but it's financially a disaster because there's birthdays, there's anniversary. It's like so many things happen to her family in the month of August. And so that is not a month for her to do this with, right? Because that's going to be a skewed month. That's not going to be a normal kind of month. If she's got, I don't know if it's her husband and her kids. She's got a lot of birthdays and anniversary, I think. So it's just a lot going on. So don't use those kind of months, right? If your October is everybody's birthday in your family, then you definitely don't want to do that. This on that month. So go back another month and do a different one. But this is the first step one, part one. Then step one, part two is group the like items, right? How we did. And we group them here. Add them up, get our average, make our budget, make sure we have enough money to take care of it, right? If we don't, we have to adjust like we did here, right? So this was our original budget. This was our new and improved budget because we just didn't have enough to give ourselves an emergency savings. And we need to do that. That's very important. If you don't have one, you need an emergency savings. Even if it's small, it's better than zero. Okay. And then once you do that, figure out how to get to $1,000. Once you get to $1,000, you may, if you can save $1,000 in 1 month, great. Then get to $5,000. And then we're going to go to paying off debt. And we can pay off debt a couple of ways. But remember, our total emergency fund goal is 6 months of living expenses. Then you can do 50-50. You can do 75-25. Or you can do 90-10. So 90-10 is going to get you the best bang for your buck to get that debt paid off, right? And you want to get that debt paid off. But you need to have money. You need to be able to get tires for your car, or you need to be able to get a tire fixed, or your car fixed if it breaks down. You need to be able to eat if they mess up your check, right? So you need some money in emergency savings. It's very, very important. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope it wasn't too confusing. That's why I try to keep it all on just a few pieces of paper. So this is our budget. It's the same as what we did here. It's just transferred on a piece of paper, right? So we can do it every month. Okay. The other thing is that once you make a purchase and when you're spending money, you need to write it down. You just need to track it. So just get another blank piece of paper and write everything down. When you paid your bills, how much you paid, all that stuff, write it down so that you can figure out where next month that you can cut money to help pay off your debt if you have debt. Okay. So I did a whole budget here with you. Probably, I don't even know what time it is, but probably took me maybe about an hour. If I sit down with someone and do their budget, it usually takes me about 4 hours. And it takes me about 4 hours because I don't know their budget. And this was just made up and easy and simple. So I was able to just kind of do it. If you do your budget and your amount of your budget, which here, there's our budgeted budget, right, is more than your income, you are upside down already. You're already starting the month in the hole. So you have to make sure that we can get our expenses to be what you make and less. So the smaller we can get these numbers and the tighter we can make our budget, then maybe we can make it so you're not upside down. But if you are upside down, the only way to fix it is to get rid of some subscriptions, get rid of that miscellaneous stuff and self-care. Not saying you can't do anything for self-care, but it doesn't need to be $100 a month self-care, right? You could do just, a couple little things. So you can buy nail polish and, do nails at home or something like that. You can also meal plan, tighten your budget and make sure that you're planning your meals and that you're buying the meat that's on sale and cooking with that. You can look at shopping at other places like Aldi and Walmart and Lidl. So the least expensive grocery stores versus a Publix, a Harris Teeter, a Kroger. Although the experience might be nicer, sometimes the prices reflect that, right? Unless they have a really good sale. So when I was really, really tight on my budget, I went to 2 different grocery stores in one day, or 3. I would start at Aldi, get everything I could get at Aldi, and then I would go to Walmart and get everything I get at Walmart, and then it might be 1 or 2 things that I couldn't get there. I do like to get my lunch meat at Harris Teeter, just because I can get it by the pound, and I can get, a quarter of a pound or half a pound, or just depending on what I'm making and what we're doing with food that week. Because I pack my lunch when I go to work. So packing your lunch, not eating out, those are good ways to save money. So the other thing to do if you're upside down and your income is less than your bills is get a part-time job, get a side hustle, do some DoorDash, do some whatever it is, Ubering or Lyft driving, something to get a little side hustle going so that you can make some extra money, wait tables in the evening, so that you can have enough money to pay all of your bills, right? So you can't be upside down. If you're upside down, if your bills are more than you make, you've got to cut. So get rid of Hulu, Netflix, those kinds of things, okay? If you're done your budget, you're having some trouble, or you're struggling, or you're having a hard time figuring out where you can cut money or what you can cut, or if there's a way to cut better, let me know. I'm happy to try to go through it and help you if I can. But it's a hard conversation. And that is probably the number one reason people don't do their budget because they have to face their spending past, right? So past Tanya spent, racked up this credit card. Now current Tanya has to deal with it, right? And I don't even want to look at it because it's just overwhelming because the interest is high and I can't make any progress because I'm paying the minimums. That is the number one reason people don't want to do their budget. But the truth is, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Forgive yourself and move on. Just don't get yourself in debt again, right? So if you find that you're using credit cards, right, unless you're able to pay your credit card off every single month, like I do for gas, because I'm debt free. So unless you're able to do that, I do not recommend you use credit card unless it's for something that's truly an emergency. The air conditioner goes out at your house. Your car is broken down and you don't have enough in your emergency fund to fix it. Something like that. Otherwise, nope. And then you have to also be realistic and be honest with yourself. Do you really need Netflix and Hulu, right? Do you need to go to Macy's and buy clothes? Maybe you had an interview and you needed this outfit. Like, no judgment. Only you can answer the question, right? But what was this Amazon? What was this Amazon? What was this PayPal, right? If I'm tight on money, the yarn store is out the window, not going there. We're not getting ice cream. I might get some at the store or go to McDonald's or something for some inexpensive ice cream if we need to do a trip, or something fun with young kids. The movies, expensive as the movies is, you got to go on Tuesday for like the $5 movie and you got to have some candy in your purse because $75 is about how much it costs to go to the movies and have popcorn and drinks and all the stuff. Jesse's birthday. So personally, my friends and I do not buy gifts for birthdays. We don't do it. So if it's your birthday and you're my friend, then I'm going to take you to lunch, right? So I might still spend $30, or I may cook you lunch in my house, right? Because I love to cook. So that may be a way. Or I might make Jessie something with some yarn that I already have. I may make her a pot scrubber or something like that. So there are ways to kind of shrink down your budget, because this $70 that we spend at Texas Roadhouse, that money can be going to our emergency fund. So eating out, again, plus it's bad for your health to eat out, right? The sodium, the sugar, the fat, you don't have any control of those things. So eating out is the number one way you can decrease your budget, is stop eating out. So I hope you find this helpful. Hope you like those tips. Again, just a few little steps. You're good to go. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope this was helpful. Take care. Bye-bye.